Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Mynt. My name is Dean. Let's get into it. So, today, let's just jump at the US COVID cases. Total confirmed, we're at 27,267,000. We're up about 116,000 from yesterday. Deaths, 467,868. We're up about 2,000 from yesterday. Recovered, 11,166,500. It's a lot. And, global cases, we're at 106 million with over 2.3 million deaths. So it's wild. So those are the numbers, in just my county alone in Hamilton County, Ohio. 69,411, up 185 from yesterday. And unfortunately, death increased by one in Hamilton County to 475. Thoughts and prayers, of course, to all who perished during this pandemic. So, leads to the episode. Dr. Fauci, that's who we're going to learn about today because we all know him as the director of the Center of Allergy and Infectious Disease and the chief medical advisor to President Joe Biden. But other than that, who is he? How did he get there? What he do? We're going to figure it out. And just going in before, I do know that he was big into the infectious disease research of HIV and AIDS during the Reagan administration. So I know he's a very smart guy who accomplished a lot and saved a lot of lives in the span of his whole career, yet alone the millions and millions he's helped during this pandemic. So he's a legend. What can I say? So Dr. Fauci was born in Brooklyn, New York, to Stephen and Eugenia Fauci. They were owners of a pharmacist. His father was a Columbia University educated pharmacist. His mother and sister Denise worked the register, family owned business, and Fauci himself delivered prescriptions. The pharmacy was located in the Dyker Heights section of Brooklyn, directly beneath the family apartment, previously in the Bensonhurst neighborhood. Oh, so it's kind of like the Bob's Burger setup. They got the house upstairs, and then they got the pharmacy down below. Cool, cool, cool. Fauci's paternal grandparents, Antonio Fauci and Caligra Guadino, were from somewhere in Italy. His maternal grandmother, Raffaella, was from Naples, Italy. She was a seamstress. His maternal grandfather was born in Switzerland, was an artist. Then he was noted for landscape and portrait painting, magazine illustrations in Italy. So he was well-known graphic design, for some commercial labels, including olive oil cans, of course, in Italy. God, that's a trillion-dollar business. His grandparents then immigrated from Italy to the US in the late 19th century. Fauci grew up Roman Catholic, but now considers himself a humanist. Fauci was 6 during the 1947 New York smallpox outbreak and was among over 6 million residents who received the smallpox vaccine in just a 2-week period. Dr. Fauci attended the Jesuit Regis High School in Manhattan's Upper East Side, where he captained the school basketball team. Wow, you don't really think of Dr. Fauci as an all-star basketball player. Must not have been a good school as a Jesuit school, so I can't imagine a bunch of yeah. Anywho, yeah, he's only 5'7". He's a little guy. After graduating from high school in 1958, Fauci attended the Jesuit College of the Holy Cross. Is that in Massachusetts? I feel like I grew up near that. Watch me be wrong. Aha, it is. It's in Worcester, Mass. I knew it. Okay. Anywho, back to that. But so he went on, got his bachelor's with of arts and classics with a pre-med track. Fauci then attended medical school at Cornell University, where he graduated first in his class with a Doctor of Medicine degree way back when, 1966. He completed internship and residency in internal medicine at the Cornell Medical Center, now I believe it's called the Weill Cornell Medical Center in New York. And then he started his career of practice in about 1968. Dr. Fauci joined the National Institute of Health as a clinical associate in the lab at the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease. Wow, so he's been in the same institute since 1968. Wow. So in 1964, he became head of the clinical psychology section, LCI, and then in 1980 was appointed chief of the lab of immunoregulation. In 1984, he then became director of the National Institutes of Allergy and Infectious Disease, a position he still holds as of 2021. That's a long time, so since the 84. Good for him. In that role, he is responsible for an extensive research portfolio of basic and applied research on infectious and immune-mediated illnesses. He has turned down several offers to lead his agency's parent, the NIH, and has been at the forefront of U.S. efforts to contend with viral diseases like HIV/AIDS, SARS, swine flu, MERS, Ebola, COVID-19, all the crazy ones. He played a significant role in the 2000s, creating Bush's president's emergency plan for AIDS relief, also known as PEPFAR, and in driving development of biodefense drugs and vaccines following the 9/11 terrorist attacks. So he's been a crucial person in the U.S. government for a long, long time. Legendary. The OG himself. So Fauci has been also a visiting professor at many medical centers and has received 30 honorary doctorates from universities in the U.S. and abroad. So medical achievements, what makes Dr. Fauci so great? Fauci has made important scientific observations that contributed to the understanding of regulation of the human immune response, and it's recognized for delineating the mechanisms whereby immunosuppressive agents adapt to that response. He developed therapies to formerly fatal diseases such as polyarteritis nodosa, granulomatous with polygene, and and I have no idea what those are. So look it up if you want to see what he developed therapies for. I have no idea. Pronunciation is out of this world. In a 1985 Stanford University survey among rheumatologists, gave him the highest accolades of his therapies that have helped rheumatology. I guess. Hey, I'm no doctor, but kudos to him on that. And one of his biggest medical achievements historically have been with his research in AIDS and HIV. So let's dive into that epidemic and see how Fauci made his claim to fame. So Dr. Fauci was one of the leading researchers during the AIDS epidemic in the early 80s. And in 1981, he heard of the virus, and then him and his team began looking for a vaccine or treatment for the novel virus, though they would meet a number of obstacles. In October 1988, protesters came to the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease, where Fauci works as the director. Fauci, who had become the director in 84, bore the brunt of the anger from the LGBTQ community, who were largely ignored by the government. That was Ronald Reagan's fault, not Dr. Fauci's fault, ladies and gentlemen. But leading AIDS activist Larry Kramer attacked Fauci relentless in the media. He called him an incompetent idiot, a pill-pushing tool of the medical establishment, but Fauci did not have control over drug approval, though many people felt he was not doing enough. Fauci did, however, make an effort in the late 80s to reach out to the LGBTQ community in New York and San Francisco to find ways he and the Institute could find a solution. Though Fauci was initially hated on for his treatment of the AIDS epidemic, Fauci's work in the community was eventually acknowledged. Larry Kramer, who had spent years hating Fauci for his treatments of the epidemic, eventually called him the only true and great hero among government officials in the AIDS crisis. There you go, Dr. Fauci, aging beautifully like a fine wine. What a legend. What a legend. The GOAT. The GOAT. He was also legendary in the Ebola, outbreak. He warned people of outbreaks in West Africa. He said, how much time would be need to get the widespread trials for vaccines for Ebola. He tells it how it is, followed up by facts. So that's why I like him. The COVID-19 pandemic, as we know, with the Trump administration, Fauci was the member of the White House Corona Task force established in late January 2020 under President Trump to deal with the COVID-19 pandemic. He became the de facto public health spokesperson for the office of president during the pandemic and a strong advocate for ongoing social distancing efforts in the US. In March, Dr. Fauci predicted that the infection fatality rate would be close to 1%, which was 10 times more severe than the 0.1% reported rate for the seasonal flu. In an interview with CBS 60 Minutes, Fauci said there's no reason to be walking around with a mask when you're in the middle of an outbreak. Wearing a mask might make people feel a little bit better, and it might even block a droplet, but it's not providing the perfect protection that people think that it is. And often there are unintended consequences. People keep fiddling with the mask and they keep touching their face. And then later, on March 29th, 2020, Fauci argued for the extension of the initial 15-day self-isolation guidelines issued by the executive office to at least until the end of April 2020. In mid-April, Fauci stated that if his administration had started mitigating early, more lives could have been saved, and no one is going to deny that. Fauci added that the decision-making for implementing mitigation measures was complicated and there was a lot of pushback about shutting things down back then, hinting at the administration being a roadblock. So, hey, in the beginning of the pandemic, there was, you remember that everybody was like, "Oh, don't wear a mask, don't wear a mask. It's gonna spread quicker." And the CDC said at first, "Don't wear a mask," and then of course they went back in and said, "Okay, wait, it does slow the spread a little bit. Let's wear a mask." So, due to his disagreements with President Trump, Fauci has been criticized by the wing pundits and received death threats, which he also has given a federal protective security detail, similar to what the president gets because of the threats he gets. In an interview with 60 Minutes, he mentions that other members of his family, including his wife and daughters, have been, reportedly harassed since the pandemic began just because of him presenting facts and trying to do his job and do what's right for the country and the world, because so much depends on him. On July 6th, 2020, Dr. Fauci spoke on a live stream on Facebook, offering his opinion that the country's situation as pertaining to COVID-19 is, quote, really not good. Pointing to more than 55,000 new cases in July, the U.S. was still knee-deep in the first wave of cases and experienced a resurgence of infections. Fauci stated, and then on July 7, 2020, during a press conference, he said it was a false narrative to take comfort in a lower rate of death for COVID-19 in the country. There are so many other things that are very dangerous and bad about this virus. Don't get yourself into false complacency. Both Trump and the White House had cited the falling death rate as a proof of success. So Fauci went out there and reminded everybody to say, don't let yourself believe that the falling death rate means the virus is going away. And as we can still see, 7-8 months later, we're still here. In July 2020, Trump publicly claimed that Fauci made a lot of mistakes. By July 12th, the White House official told media outlets that several White House officials are concerned about the number of times Dr. Fauci has been wrong on things, passing to the media a list of perpetuated mistakes that made Fauci that alleged he made some mistakes during the outbreak. But the list obviously didn't go anywhere. One of those supposed mistakes highlighted was Fauci's Feb 29th statement in an interview that, at this moment, this is a quote, "At this moment, there is no need to change anything that you're doing on a day-to-day basis," end quote. However, the White House list neglected to mention that in the same interview, Fauci had stated that the risk could change, quote, "when you start to see community spread, and that the disease could morph into a, quote, major outbreak in the country," which, again, he's, there you go. He's very punctual with what he says. He definitely thinks it through. As of late September 2020, when the U.S. coronavirus fatalities exceeded 200K, conservatives continued to question Fauci and the center and CDC recommendations for responding to the epidemic. In a hearing before the Senate, Kentucky Senator Rand Paul, this was interesting, and Rand Paul's a friggin' doctor too. Asked him if he had second thoughts about his mitigation recommendations, including keeping 6 feet of distance from others and mask wearing, claiming our death rate is essentially worse than Sweden's. Fauci stood by the guidelines, indicating Sweden's fatality rate exceed those of other Scandinavian countries, and said that the comparison between Sweden and the United States was not legitimate because of size, population, of course. Rand Paul then went on to try to twist words and make ignorant, assertions to Fauci, and Fauci said, "You're misconstruing my words. You've done that numerous times. Let's just, he pretty much put him in his place. So let's just listen to the real professionals, not Rand Paul." My goodness. During the Biden administration, on December 3rd, 2020, then President-elect Biden asked Fauci, in addition, to remain in his role as director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease, to serve as the chief medical advisor to the U.S. president. Fauci, of course, accepted the offer right on the spot. So Fauci was quoted saying on January 23rd that letting science speak on the pandemic got him into a little bit of trouble and got pushback from people in the White House, including the president, during that time President Trump administration. Fauci was also reportedly blocked from appearing on, certain news telecasts because the Trump White House didn't like the way the news people would ask Fauci questions, so they wouldn't let him go in front of cameras. That's why, if you remember, he disappeared for a while. But hey, I think he does a weekly press conference with Biden's press secretary, so it's good to see some more transparency. Over to some random facts about Fauci. Of course, the author Sally Quinn. This I found very interesting. She has credited Anthony Fauci as the inspiration for the love interest in her best-selling 1991 romance novel. You ready for it? Happy Endings. Because when you think of Dr. Fauci, you just think of a happy ending. Sounds like a marvelous book. Oh, goodness. So his personal life, he's married. His wife, Christine, she's a nurse at the NIH. They met actually treating a patient. Wow, that's kinky. She is the chief of the Department of Bioethics at the National Institute of Health Clinical Center, and they have 3 adult daughters. So there you go. There's Dr. Fauci in a nutshell. If you didn't know who he was or what he'd accomplished, he's accomplished a hell of a lot. His career has gone over 50 years. It's surreal. He's born in 1940, so how old is he today? That makes him 80 years of age. My goodness, he's won the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the Public Welfare Medal, numerous prizes and accolades. A success story from Brooklyn, New York. Good job, Dr. Fauci. Again, he's been working with the National Institutes of Health since 1968, where he's the director, of course, the Allergy and Infectious Disease Institute. So kudos to Dr. Fauci. Thank you for all you do, kiddo, you young pup. I just hope more people will get vaccinated. I hope we can get more doses out. I want this friggin' disease to be under control. It's just absolutely absurd. People are still waiting on these damn COVID stimulus checks. We don't even know what Congress is going to agree on. It's just everything COVID related is just a friggin' headache. And to Anthony Fauci, just want to say how wonderful life is while you're in the world, as Bernie Taupin would put pen to paper and say. So that's Mynt for today. We will be back with some other BS, I'm sure. Until next time, see you later. Wear a mask, support your local businesses. Take care. Toodles.